Welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse, and tonight I want to welcome Daryl Collins. Tonight we are looking at Grand Funk Railroad. The title, we're an American band that I don't like. So we're going to look at the Shining On album. So let's get started. This should be interesting. Let's see if Daryl can convert me.
Throw those horns up. It's time for Grant's Rock Warehouse.
Welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse, and I want to welcome DC to the channel tonight. I'm not really going to say a whole hell of a lot at this point. I'm going to turn it over to DC. This is just one of those episodes that kind of, I don't want to say it grew out of the ashes of something because it didn't, but it just kind of germinated. And I'm really excited about this because it's a fresh idea. And I'm not going to say anything more. DC, go ahead. Take it away. Tell the people what we're talking about.
Well, thank you, Grant. Folks, we've been having a bit of a problem here at the warehouse. Grant does not like Grand Funk Railroad, dare I say, hates them, except for a few tracks.
We're an American band's good.
Yeah,
and I would say that Closer to Home. What? I'm Your Captain.
Or
I like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never heard Closer to Home as an album, but I like I'm Your Captain, even though they don't seem to play it, because it doesn't seem like, if you look, it just doesn't seem like Grand Funk to me. Some of the Grand Funk that I've heard, that doesn't seem to be characteristic of the Grand Funk sound. It almost sounds like a pop single. It's almost kind of proggy. But anyway, DC, go ahead. We'll get to that.
We got a lot to cover.
Oh God.
And the problem here in the warehouse is that Grand Funk has more than a few fans here. We got Byron, Ernesto, Rand Kelly, and myself, along with maybe John the Music Nut. I remember he may have. I
believe John may like that.
He may have chimed in about this topic a little bit in our various discussions. So we are doing the first of possibly many warehouse interventions, we're calling them at this point, to see if we can sway Grant even a little bit to see the light. And I thought the best way to handle this, the best way to approach it, was to find some sort of common ground with Grand Funk Railroad. And I came to the conclusion that we all love Todd Rundgren.
Yep.
Grant loves Todd.
I love Todd. Brilliant. Utopia, and Todd, all that. Love it.
Bing, bing. And Todd produced 2 Grand Funk Railroad albums, We're an American Band and Shining On. Now, if you listen to American Band, you'd be hard-pressed to recognize it as a Todd Rundgren production, which is very odd because everything that Todd produces, he leaves his mark on kind of heavily. And for me, that's very good. So American Band does not, you would never even think Todd produced it to just sit down and listen to it without knowing beforehand. But the second album he produced for them, Shining On, there you go, Grant's got his copy there. It's an album that I remember back in the day, one critic saying, Grand Funk Railroad is from Flint, Michigan, but Todd makes them sound like they're from the Crab Nebula. And you'll get where that's coming from when you start listening to these tracks. You'll be able to hear in about 3 or 4 songs in particular that Todd adds his spacey, atmospheric touch that he employed on side 2 of Initiation and A Wizard of True Star. You'll hear that stuff, and it ain't going to sound like Grand Funk Railroad from Flint. I think this band, I mean, just putting things aside, how I feel personally, they've got to have some merit for Todd to produce them twice and Frank Zappa to take a chance. Or maybe those guys were just up for a challenge.
Well, if I read I will say this. I read the liner notes on here. Okay. And Mark Farner was saying they absolutely loved Todd. They thought Todd in the studio was just great.
They had
a good working relationship. They would go out and have lunch or dinner in Flint when they were recording the record.
It was the flip side of the Todd experience that XTC experienced with Skylarking. They hate.
Only Todd. Andy did.
Andy did exactly that. You're right, Grant. It was Andy and Todd for a myriad of reasons, did not get along. To this day, Andy has said Todd did a fabulous job with the album. He
knew what to do.
But Todd, Andy had stage fright. They didn't tour. He felt like he had to leave his mark on the band in the studio, and he would just drag things on and on and on. And he felt like Todd came in there and usurped his rule over the band, and he was resentful about that. And there's a little funny side note here. And Todd never caught on. When Todd would come into the studio to start the day's proceedings, the band would play the theme to the Munsters, because Todd's got a rather large Herman.
He looks like a Herman Munster head.
Todd never caught on, but that was something that Andy had said in an interview. But now he realizes that Todd worked some magic on that album. So
well,
let's get back to.
Well, I know. I just want to say this, but think about it. Andy was used to, think about it. They had Steve Lillywhite back in the day. I don't know if they were, when they became a studio band, though, that's when everything changed, because that became their domain. They didn't tour anymore.
Exactly.
They wanted to go, Andy wanted to go in the studio and spend months in there making a record.
Yeah.
And he pretty much was the producer, even though his name wasn't on there as a producer. But he just pretty much ran the boat. He steered the ship.
Well, the label.
Have Todd come in and try to produce, and Todd's going to do what he's going to do. We go like that.
And the label told Todd, this is what he's doing. We need you just get in there, record this album. We're not waiting 5-6 months. Get in there and get it done. And that's exactly what he did. He wasn't going to play games. He had a job to do, and he did it incredibly. Now getting back to Grand Funk, Todd said that they were very good musicians, that they were just terribly recorded in previous albums, which he said it didn't really showcase their talents and abilities. Now, I like those raw earlier albums. They capture that grit and that blue collar kind of approach from the band. But anyway,
I've heard the one record. What's the record? Boy, it's been a long time. The Red album cover, 19.
It's simply called the Red album, but it's called Grand Funk.
It just seems very raw.
It the Red. It is very raw, and I mean, like I say, the synergy between those three players in the very beginning is uncanny. And Grant, you as a bass player will, if you really get into Grand
barely,
Funk, and listen to Mel Shocker, who is their bass player, what he brings to even critics that hated Grand Funk back in the day, they would say, hey, hats off to Mel Shocker on bass. What incredible bass lines, and the way he brought everything together as a liaison between the rhythm and the musical part, the guitar part, fabulous. And there's a video on YouTube. I bring up YouTube every time I'm on a show, but there is a video from 1969 of Grand Funk Railroad doing a cover of the Animals, Inside Looking Out. It's 9 minutes. Look it up, check it out, and then get back to me and tell me this band doesn't bring it.
Well, let me ask you this, DC. You mentioned the critics. Why didn't the critics like this band?
I think in every generation, the critics, the music intelligentsia, picks a band to shit on. And it's just like, it's like that kid at school that all the bullies just decide, we're going to go after this kid, or this is going to be the object of our ire. There was no reason for it. I mean, I know critics a lot of times are hoity-toity, and they're, highbrow in their outlook on whatever subject, music, movies, and different from the masses. But these guys, Grand Funk Railroad connected with millions of people, and they were humongous.
Why? Okay, so Grand Funk didn't connect with the critics.
They were like the Nickelback of the
I could, that's kind of what I hear.
But
now listen,
I think they were infinitely better.
What? Okay, it's now I'm interviewing you. Why do you think that they were such a hit with the public and not with the? I mean, you could say that the critics they were the ones they picked, but why did they connect with the audience so well?
I think is because they came out of nowhere, and it was the audience that pushed them up, not as much the label. It was their hard work, their few opportunities where they were performing at the Atlanta Pop Festival. There was a couple of shows that they finagled their way to get on the list, pretty much opening the show, and people connected with them. Maybe the critics didn't like the idea that Grand Funk didn't need them to reach this audience and be as popular as they were. I mean, the guys, these sold out Shea Stadium in a day or two, faster than the Beatles. Of course, that's a different era. That's not really fair.
Right.
But you couldn't be a shit band and do that. They were obviously, their music, their persona, their workman-like approach to putting on a show. And these guys gave it their all. If you see any of this live stuff from early in their career, they left nothing they gave it their all. And I think people can see that.
I must say, listening to this, well, I've obviously listened to it. Don Brewer, not only as a vocalist, which I think is Todd, Saul, and Don to bring that to the table.
Yep.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Can you imagine being
so freaking good?
Being behind a kit and singing like that?
Yeah, but he sounds so great.
I know.
Now I sound like I'm a Don Brewer fan, but I guess I kind of am. Because compared to Mark, I'm listening to that, and then Mark does his song, and I'm sitting there going, but Don Brewer, there's an energy, there's a passion, I can't put my finger on it, but man, there's an excitement, and his drumming skills go hand in hand. I mean, what a talent. And the fact that he was underutilized. Now, I'm going to ask you this. On the old records, did Don ever sing anything? Was he just a background vocalist? How did Todd take him? We might as well include We're American Band too, because that's really where things started to happen. But how much did Don contribute on those older records vocally as opposed to what he did with Todd? Because on this record, I'm just going to say, when he does his songs, it's like, yeah.
I noticed that when we had little brief discussions about Grand Funk, it seemed like the Don Brewer centric vocally tunes you seem to really gravitate towards, and the Mark Farner fronted songs not so much.
Well, I'm working at it. This is what we're going to see if we can crack it.
See, I'm a little bit more of a Farner guy than Don Brewer, but to have two lead vocalists in that band of that quality is astounding to me. Those early albums, Brewer and Farner would trade off vocals. There were a few solo vocals by Brewer. There's one slowish, almost a gospel song that Brewer does. I Can Feel Him in the Morning from Survival. Say that
real fast.
But there were a few lead vocals by Don Brewer leading up to American Band. But Todd must have come in there, or Todd must have listened to their catalog and saying, why in the hell aren't they giving more lead vocals to Don Brewer? This guy's a great vocalist too. And maybe, given Todd's genius, figured if Grand Funk's going to have top 40 hits, this may be the voice that's going to initially get him there.
That's the voice.
Yeah, that's the voice that's going to get him there.
When I hear it, I'm just going, yes, let's do this.
I could see that you were going that way. It's something that Farner wasn't connecting with you, but Brewer was in a big way. Yeah, I like.
Maybe it's him strutting around on stage with that long hair with no shirt on all the time. That just, I don't know. I don't know.
The girls in my high school would disagree vehemently with you, Grant. Oh, Farner had a lot of fans in the lady back in the day. Oh my God, yeah.
He looked like he's just getting ready to work over at the carnival when I see him. I don't know. Him and Axl Rose would make a good team.
Mark, if you're out there, that's Grant saying that, not me. But I know what I
was at a show. We played the show at Songbird Center 19. Was it 84, 83? Did I ever tell you that story?
No.
Okay. So our band was Tall Water. We went on first. We're nobody, but it was us. And then it was Willie Phoenix.
Okay.
You remember Willie?
I sure do.
Of course you do. A&M recording artist, Willie Phoenix. Yeah. You ever heard that Willie Phoenix album on A&M?
No, I just remember
You
of the
remember it?
name and here. Yeah, I remember of it, but I
All
don't
right.
have it.
So it was us, Tallwater, then Willie Phoenix, then Rosie. Remember Rosie?
Sure, another Columbus. Yeah, I
Great
sure
band
do.
though.
Yeah.
Mark Chatfield, who was in the Gods.
Gods.
And
Yeah.
after Gods broke up, I'm just giving so people know what we're talking about. So everybody knows, well, I don't know. The Gods, they're a rock and roll machine, Mark Chatfield.
Machine.
Then it was Rosie. And then after Rosie, it was Mark Farner.
Okay.
Then after Mark Farner, it was, hope I'm not missing somebody. It was Donnie Iris, which was the headliner.
Okay.
Well, we played Mark, it was just him solo act, 84, 85. I think it was 84.
Yeah.
Hey, it sounded like Mark Farner. It was fine. But I will tell you this. I know we're on a tangent. Sorry, everybody, because this is what we do. Stephen Schnee we haven't aired it yet, but we did a show on Donnie Iris. So it'll come out eventually here soon. But Donnie Iris, I was at the side of the stage. Oh my God, that band was so freaking good. To be up on stage, in the wings, listening
it's
to
a whole different vibe.
They were
whole different vibe.
Tight. Probably one of the best bands I'd ever heard. So there you go. Check out some Donnie Iris. All right, tangent's over. But anyway, I did have a brief encounter with Mark Farner, and he didn't have a shirt on.
You played on the same bill with him, man.
Played on the same bill.
Huge. That's huge.
Which has nothing to do with what we're talking about. But what I was going to mention before I lose track of my thought is that Todd did the similar thing with XTC. He chose most of Colin's songs for skylarking as opposed to, Andy Partridge dominating everything. So it was pretty much split pretty evenly on skylarking between Colin's songs and Andy's songs. But he could see, well, these are the songs we need. His songs are the superior songs for this project.
Yeah, another
Just
thing
like that he looked at Don Brewer. We got to have Don. This is who we need to have more of. And it worked out.
That's why you hired Todd. He sees something there and how it relates to the masses and makes his best decision based on that. And for skylarking, my God, how masterful was the running order of those songs. And I'm sure that pissed Andy off too, to use more of Colin's material, but you can't deny that album's a masterpiece. And it is a lot of it has to do with Todd's arranging and Todd's influence that made that album.
Because they recorded all the basic tracks. XTC split. He took the tapes and Prairie Prince. They went up to California, recorded Prairie's drums. They did this whatever string sections that they needed. I think a lot of it's Fairlight, but whatever else they needed to do. I could be wrong on that.
No, it's true because Prairie
was there's other. Yeah, they did. He put it all together later, and then he mixed it, and the band didn't even hear it. It came out, and of course, because Andy didn't have anything to do with it,
he was triply pissed. He was triply pissed.
It's a
put
beautiful
that little capper on that.
Beautiful artistic statement.
Yeah.
So
my favorite album of the decade.
I totally agree. Okay. So I kind of look at Grand Funk and XTC similarly, the way Todd approached it. Now, when we were talking about this, you came up with this record for me to listen to.
Yes, sir.
Now, what was it about this for me to start with Grand Funk? Why did you pick this record?
Well, as I said, we were trying to find some common ground that we could bring you into the fold with Grand Funk. And obviously the one nexus is we all love Todd Rundgren. Right. But of the two albums, that American Band album, there's no real Todd there. I mean, obviously he did the production work, but if you just listen to it cold without knowing that, you wouldn't necessarily say, I hear a lot of Todd Rundgren on this.
Well, if I look at this record, I'm just going to say, oh God, I can't read that. Excuse me, I have to put on my spectacles. If I'm looking over the track listing, so the album leads off with Shining On, which Don Brewer vocal leading off the record. All right. Yep. All right. I'm in then. For me, when I listen to this, Shining On, I can hear Todd Rundgren on this.
Absolutely. That's one of the tracks that you can really hear Todd's influence and how that song sounds. And in fact, that same critic that said Todd makes this band from Flint, Michigan sound like they're from the Crab Nebula, he also said about the song Shining On, he says, this is the best thing that Grand Funk's ever recorded. So this critic was a big fan of that song.
I don't know if it's better than American Band, though. The single. No, I'm just saying. But this doesn't have that. When I listen to this, maybe it's that whole, we're from Flint, Michigan, we're raw, maybe it was the production that maybe drove me crazy. Maybe Todd had a good point. Maybe it was the fact that they were never really produced well, because it was what's his name who did all the productions.
It was their manager, Terry Knight.
Yeah, Terry. Yeah.
And I mean,
is he really a producer?
No, he was a performer with their earlier bands. It was Terry Knight and the Pack.
I've got that album.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. And we can have a whole discussion about how we screw them. Yeah. But that Shining On, and also the song Carry Me Through. If you want to talk about Todd's imprint, that song is like, comes off, it sounds like something off of Wizard of True Star.
Well, Todd's playing guitar on that too.
Yeah. They utilize both really fantastic guitarists on their albums too. And to Mark Farner's credit, he loved having Todd and then Frank Zappa. Have you ever heard on the album he produced, Out to Get You? It's an instrumental. It's an instrumental. You will love it. And
is it on that album?
No, it's on an album.
What's it on?
Good Singing, Good Playing.
Yeah. That's what I mean. I'm sorry. The only album that Zappa produced.
Yeah.
I remember seeing that record in the cutout bins when I was a kid, younger. Yeah. I mean, it came went straight to the cutout bins.
It didn't do well.
But think about it. Grand Funk, all these bands, not everybody can be U2. Not everybody can be Guns N' Roses. Not everybody can be Queen, because Queen still, or the Beatles, or you name it.
Yeah, for every one band that has that decades-long career, there are 10 of them that have a window.
Right.
That's it.
Grand Funk had a window. And the reason I know they really did have a window is because when I was in high school in the 80s, no one knew Grand Funk. No one gave two squats about Grand Funk. I never heard any Grand Funk.
Yeah.
No one, and it wasn't like it was that long ago when they were there.
I know.
But in the early 80s, there's nothing. There is nothing with Grand Funk.
I know.
Dead. So maybe that has maybe that's part of the way I look at them, just like they were just insignificant. I know you could say that they sold out Shea Stadium. They did have some good, but they had a lot of shitty records too, I guess. I don't know. What I heard, I didn't care for. Okay.
Yeah.
But by the 80s, they were dead in the water.
They had tried a few comebacks there post 1980, and nothing really caught ground. They got a song on the heavy metal animated movie soundtrack, but really they could get no tracking. They could get no mojo going past like 1977. From that Zappa album on, they just couldn't.
And I'm not trying to beat up Grand Funk. You love them. There are people who love them, but the idea is we're going to try to turn me on to Grand Funk, and I hopefully see the light. Well, and like I said, Daryl we're looking at Shining On today. So I'm going to turn it around a bit. I want to get your thoughts on this record, because if you look at the reviews, We're an American Band got way better reviews than this. This got like 2.5, 3 stars. Most people say that the songwriting on this record isn't up to snuff as what came before. I don't know. What's your thoughts on that? How do you look at this record? And just give me your review on this record, and we'll get to what I think here. Sure.
Of the two,
well, you can use them. Well, it's hard to keep them both separated because I kind of look at them.
They both go to,
because it's the Todd Rundgren era, you know.
Well,
having more American Band, but I don't know where it is.
Having said that, of the two albums, I reach for Shining On more than American Band.
You do.
Me, and we all hear things differently. I prefer the song Shining On to We're an American Band. I love that. That song is
Well,
like
it's very
stellar.
experimental.
It is just, and it's got so many shifts in instrumentation and how the things come in and come out and everything. I enjoy the song more and I like it more.
I'm not going to use the word prog, but you almost can hear some prog elements within the time signatures and the way
agreed.
The way the song is constructed.
Exactly. Maybe that's part of Rand Kelly's passion for Grand Funk.
I don't know. I have to ask Rand about it, get his thoughts on that. But look, Rand loves Grand Funk.
Oh yeah. And
he thinks he was in that era. He thought they were absolutely phenomenal.
And it has a special place in my heart too, because along with Rand, I remember learning so many Grand Funk songs on guitar, just there, my vinyl, like taking the stylus and going over a part, learning it. And that's what he did too. So that's got a special place in our hearts because of that. There's an interesting story about their cover of The Locomotion, in that they took a break, they went to lunch. Todd's in the studio in Flint. They used to call their studio the Swamp. Farner
it was like on Mark's farm, wasn't it?
Yeah. Farner comes through the door, and for whatever reason, and it didn't occur to him, he's singing the song The Locomotion. Everybody's doing and Todd goes, "What is that? What is that?" And Farner goes, "Man, that's Little Eva's The Locomotion from back in the 50s. I was shocked Todd had never heard it before, but he said, "You guys got to record that song right now." And they did, and the rest is history as far as that's concerned. But that's kind of funny that you would think Todd's kind of like an encyclopedia of pop music, that he didn't know The Locomotion. But I mean, that was it was just,
especially
like
being from Philadelphia. I'm sure that was a big hit,
and it just seems like a natural fit for The Locomotion and a group, Grand Funk Railroad. It just seems like a very obvious.
Well, when I listen to it, it almost doesn't feel like, I don't know, maybe he needed a Don Brewer vocal.
Poor Mark.
Could you imagine if Don Brewer sang The Locomotion? That'd be fucking.
You'd be grooving in your seat right now. Just
look, I got all worked up. Sorry for that expletive, but that'd be something.
Well, they went to the well again. I'm sure that's why they recorded on a subsequent album Some Kind of Wonderful, because that was also a soul song from the 50s. Yeah, I agree with you. That's when I thought, what the hell? I don't like this at all. But the general public loved the hell out of that song. To me, I didn't like that at all. The Locomotion is kind of played out for me, but I could still listen to it. But Some Kind of Wonderful does not do it for me.
Well, the thing that I was going to say, though, The Locomotion, when I listen to it, because we got Shining On, we've got Locomotion's the third track.
Mm-hmm.
The way the first two tracks start out, because they're both Don Brewer. That is right. The second track's Don Brewer too, right? God, I'm trying to think.
No, is that back in? That's Mark.
Okay. But still, you get the Locomotion in there, and it's like, it doesn't really fit the record.
I know.
It sounds like something. It would have been better, I think, if they would have tagged that on at the end of the record or something.
Agreed.
But that's fine. Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe the sequencing, for as good as Todd is with sequencing,
I don't think they could let a Dynamo top 40 hit be just tacked on at the end. But I agree with you as far as album flow is concerned. If they tacked that on as the last track, it would make more sense album wise. But you got to answer to the label, and those other considerations come into play when you're sequencing an album like that.
So any other tracks on this record, though, that you think are, well, obviously you're trying to turn me on to it.
The only song I don't like on that album is Mr. Pretty Boy.
And why is that?
Pretty Boy. It's kind of like this very slow bluesy thing that just doesn't grab me. Yeah. I like Please Me and Little Johnny Hooker as well. Those two songs. That's a Brewer song, Please Me, and Farner lead vocal on Little Johnny Hooker.
What do you think is the best? Well, I hate this. I think most of the Don Brewer stuff that I've heard on this record, He's always break. I don't have a problem with it at all. I love it. I could listen to it over and over again.
So
So
you would love
evidently
to go
I'm
see.
listening. I'm listening. I must be hearing what Todd heard. Okay. But is there a particular vocal on this record, a Mark Farner vocal, that you think is just hitting it out of the park? I mean, he sounds fine, but I think maybe my problem is okay. He doesn't sound very distinct. He's kind of like the Ronnie Montrose vocalist. Ronnie Montrose really, Ronnie Montrose, great guitar player, but he could play whatever. Now he would sound like just anybody. It's not like one of those guys where Brian May comes on and you go, oh yeah, that's Brian May.
That's Brian May, yeah.
Or if you go, oh, there's Ace Frehley. Some people don't like Ace Frehley. I don't give a shit. He's got a distinct tonality.
Sure.
Ronnie Montrose, great guitar player, but kind of sounds like
whatever he wants to sound for the track. That's
but he doesn't have a distinct. He doesn't have a distinct tone.
The album Open Fire is exemplary of what you're saying. There are 10 tracks on that song. He sounds like a different guitarist on every track.
Right. But Todd Rundgren on this. Listen to the guitar part. You know it's Todd Rundgren. But I mean, you have to know what Todd sounds like.
Sure.
But you can pick out Todd like that. Rick Nielsen for Cheap Trick. His rhythm guitar sound, at least on the Tom Werman era stuff, where Rick Nielsen sounds like Rick Nielsen. If you see Rick Nielsen live, the guitar sound on the Tom Werman stuff is what Rick Nielsen sounds like live.
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole other discussion. But what I'm trying to say is when I listen to Mark Farner, good vocalist, not a problem. But when I sit here and try to think of his vocal sound in my head, I draw a blank.
Oh, see, and that's very interesting because to me,
Don Brewer imprint right away. Put Don Brewer right there in the front on the first track to kick some ass, and that's what that first Shining On. You give me a better. All right, see, give me a better track lead off Shining On.
Oh, I agree with you. My God, Shining On's my favorite song on that album.
But it's got personality. And I listen to Mark Farner, and you may get me converted. This is what this process is. We're going to reconvene this. This isn't a done deal. Because you might say, okay, Grant. All right, smart ass. Listen to this record and we'll talk again.
But
I will see what I'm saying. He's a great singer, but I can't think of anything that
we all hear things different. Okay. To me, he has a very distinctive style. And maybe for me, it's because I was a fan from very early on. And those earlier albums were more Farner-centric. And there are aspects of his voice that come through more in the earlier albums than when they started sharing lead vocals. But if you get a chance, listen to that first live album and listen to Farner sing Heartbreaker. And tell me this guy doesn't have his own.
Okay, there you go. Now I have to challenge. Okay. So I could be totally wrong, but this is what this exercise is about. True. This is a great exercise.
Yeah, I agree.
You can sell. I'm already sold on Don Brewer.
Yep.
I'd love it.
You would love the current
album of Don Brewer.
You would love the current. You would love the current Grand Funk Railroad.
I'd love it then. I would probably love it. You got Bruce Kulick playing guitar.
Yeah, and you got the guy from 38 Special taking Farner's kind of place in the band with when they do the Farner-centric songs. He sings them.
Oh.
Max Carl, I think is his name.
I'd probably like it. He
looks like a 6'2" version of Mark Farner. And I went to a show with the new Grand Funk without Farner, and there were people sitting next to me, and they were going, oh, I didn't think he was that tall. He's got the line. He looks like Farner.
He looks like Jesus.
Farner,
it's like Jesus standing there, but when I saw Mark back in the old, he had short hair.
Yeah.
That's when he was on he was doing a lot of Christian music too.
Yeah, he made some pretty good inroads in the Christian music field.
And I'm not taking that. Good for him. I think that's wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just I think we're hearing things differently.
Okay,
If
good. That's
nothing,
fine. That's
if
fine.
nothing else, we could say this intervention has brought you to a point where you do like Don Brewer centric Grand Funk Railroad. So, hallelujah, hallelujah.
But okay, we're getting there. Okay.
I'm going to try and lead you into some Farner centric stuff that
Okay.
to my
Now
ears.
let me talk. Go
Go
ahead.
ahead. Have you ever listened? You go.
Damn it. Go say what you're going to say, because I lost my train of thought or whatever, my brain.
Along with the first live album.
Okay.
Listen to E Pluribus Funk, which is my favorite Grand Funk album.
God, that got like horrible reviews.
I know. I don't worry about that. It's a little.
Well, see, I have that in the back of my head. Rolling Stone drilled this into my head that Grand Funk is terrible.
You have to put DC up here and the Rolling Stone critics here in your hierarchy of criteria.
I've thrown Rolling Stone out on this channel.
Oh,
they hate everything. I'm trying to get over it. I'm trying to get over it.
Yeah, I gave up on them decades ago.
But this record, okay, I can listen to the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I haven't heard any of the other stuff. Okay. Okay. I like this record. Okay.
Wait a second.
I love the Don Brewer stuff. I think that the Mark Farner stuff is just kind of, after you have the Don Brewer tracks and then all of a sudden you have a Mark Farner track.
Yeah.
It's kind of lackluster for me, because Don is full tilt and Mark's a little bit more.
Okay. Well,
maybe the older stuff has a little bit more to it.
Grant, I'm going to tell you.
But I don't turn it off, though.
So we are making progress here.
Making progress.
We'll give you a couple homework assignments.
Okay.
When we're done recording here, I want you to get on YouTube and type in Grand Funk Railroad Inside Looking Out. There'll be a video that comes up of a live performance of them doing the cover of that Animal song. Okay. You listen to that, and it's like a 9-minute song.
Okay.
And the interplay between the three of them is one thing. But if you can listen to that and tell me that Mark Farner is not a dynamite vocalist with his own personality, I'll eat my Tornadoes hat.
Okay. Well, maybe on this record, to me, it doesn't come off that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
I look at this, this seems more like a Don Brewer record.
It is. And that you could see where Todd was directing the band in that way. And it was Brewer Farner 50-50, whereas that was like
I like 50-50 though.
Yeah.
I don't know if I like
vocalists.
I'm not sure I dig 90-10 unless I can find a record that I'm trying to keep an open mind. But I do appreciate the 50-50 thing, because it goes back to the Beatles where everybody's sharing, they go back and forth. I love that. It's XTC. We got Andy Partridge, we got Colin Moulding, going back and forth. But it's just that Todd knew what to do with Don Brewer so well on here.
Oh yeah. There's no question.
Dang.
There's no question Todd's genius on many fronts. And one of them is to take a group, look at their talent base, and then pick and choose where they're going to go in their approach. And his approach with Grand Funk Railroad was, let's give this drummer more lead vocals. And the proof's in the pudding. Now, me, like I said, I'll say it for the 100th time, I prefer Farner a little bit more. They're both great. I love both.
I don't get that, though. See, I'm not totally there yet.
Yeah, I know.
I like it. I like your passion, Daryl. I like it. This is why we're talking.
My homework assignment for you, Grant, is number 1, get on YouTube and Inside Looking Out, Grand Funk Railroad, watch that live performance, and then tell me what you think of Farner's vocals on that. Number 2.
But there has to be a record I need to look at other than, okay.
That will be on
what album, though?
Go on the first live album. There's a live version of that there, too. Number 2 is E Pluribus Funk.
Oh, that's my assignment.
That one, too. So the live album, E Pluribus Funk. And I want you to watch the video on YouTube of them doing Inside Looking Out.
Okay.
From 69, not the 74 concert, 69.
Well, let me say this record. If you haven't heard Grand Funk, and you have read those Rolling Stone reviews back in the day, and you do have a it's still hard for me to even hold this CD.
We never thought
Like you
we'd
have a
get this far.
preconceived notion, okay?
Yeah.
No one's talking Grand Funk. They're a blip on the screen now. I don't want to piss anybody off. I'm not trying to piss anybody off. DC's doing his hardest to convert me.
Yeah.
This record's very enjoyable. And I'm gonna probably blame Todd because Todd knew what to do with them.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like this is pretty late in their career. What is this, album number 7?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Pretty late, but think about them. They were cranking records out back in the day.
Doesn't it amaze you that in the 70s, all your major bands were releasing 2 albums a year?
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like you get an album every 5 years. But back then, you had to have 2 albums, and that includes while you're touring.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2 releases every year. All of them, Alice Cooper Band, all those groups, Deep Purple, 2 albums a year, folks. That was what was required.
I would give this record, gee, Christmas. Am I really going to go to that level? I would probably give it a solid 4 out of 5.
Oh my God.
Probably.
Wow. Well, that makes me feel good that I narrowed it. And
I actually like this record because I've been listening to it. We've had this planned for a couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I've been listening to it quite a bit.
Well,
and it doesn't make me want to go to the corner of my room and throw up
or throw a wall puncher. That warms the cockles of my heart.
I would give it a 4-star. I would recommend anybody even looking into this band, don't look at the reviews because we're an American band. That's another topic, though they go kind of hand in hand. Maybe We're American Band might be a better one to start out with. I don't know, but I think anyone would like this. I think I want to say that the drumming, the guitar, the band on here, the playing, the instrumentation, the arrangements that Todd did, the way the songs are set up, it's very engaging. You don't get bored. And you can really realize how good of players these guys are because
that's great that you brought that to the attention of everybody listening here, because that's exactly what Todd said. Says these guys weren't recorded right. They're very good players. They're in the wrong hands. They were in the wrong hands.
There's a lot of energy on this record.
Yeah.
At least with the Don Brewer stuff. I think that the Mark Farner stuff's just maybe a little more reserved. But we're going to look at something else later. We'll get there. I'm getting better. I'm opening up. But let's say this: I wouldn't trade this back into the wild. This is staying.
Oh, good. That's great. Here's a little tidbit for you, since you're a Brewer fan.
I know. I can't believe it.
There is an album after Grand Funk that they made called Flint.
Mm-hmm.
And it is Don Brewer, Mel Shocker, and Craig Frost. Without Mark Farner, and they bring Todd plays on it, Zappa plays on it,
which is cool. That's cool.
Yeah, and it's more of an R&B flavored type rock album. I enjoy it quite a little bit, but of course Don's doing all the vocals on it. So that may be a 5 for you, Grant. You want to track that down?
Well, I just can't believe that no one really mentions Don Brewer and his ability, for one, as a drummer. Holy crap.
I'm astounded, Grant, that he can play what he plays and sing at that kind of a level.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's not easy. I mean,
I think
quality vocalist drummers you can count on one hand. The guy from
Phil,
Rare Earth,
Phil,
obviously. Of course. The guy from Rare Earth is pretty darn good.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even think of what his name is.
I can only think of Don Brewer and Phil.
Yeah, and then the guy
Dennis
from Rare
Wilson
Earth
could sing and drum.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say Dennis Wilson was a great drummer, but
Phil, the licks Don Brewer does.
No, but Phil Collins was a fabulous drummer. Fabulous.
Oh my God, yeah,
fabulous. And he could do it all and sings.
Yeah, cousin Phil.
People, rag on him, but listen to that Genesis stuff, kids.
Yeah, oh my God, in the 80s. You couldn't turn on the radio for 20 minutes without either encountering Phil as Genesis, solo, or soundtracks with other artists like, what is that, Marilyn Martin or whatever, Against All Odds.
Yeah, that's good.
That's a good tune. That's a good tune.
the Marilyn Martin song.
Philip Bailey, Easy
Something
Lover,
Lies.
True Lies.
True Lie. No, that's Jamie Lee
That's
Curtis and something. Can't remember the name of that damn song, but it's great.
yeah. I mean, Phil was one of the kingpins of the early 80s or throughout the 80s. Absolutely.
But yes, this record, I would recommend this record for someone looking into at least, okay, if you dig Todd Rundgren's productions, I'd say he hit this one out of the park. And don't look at the reviews. I think it's what he was able to do with this band. I can't speak for an American band. That'd be a different show. But yeah.
Well, that makes me like I said, that warms the cockles of my heart there, Grant, because I tried to narrow it into something that would be accessible to someone who doesn't like Grand Funk, and I thought this was a good entry into that world, and it worked out. So
I see it sitting in front of me, and I'm just surprised that it's sitting there in front of me, though.
I'm shocked.
The other CDs are sitting there, and they're looking at it going,
what the hell's going on here? I'm shocked given our earlier conversation and your vehement dislike for this band that you've
every time someone would bring it up during the show,
come on,
I'd get all upset and throw up. But
you better take that back, Byron.
I don't know. That's a pretty good record.
Well, that's great, man. So our work is done here for now. I guess.
It is. It's getting better. I can recommend it. I'll leave it.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
I think that they had a lot of potential, and Todd knew what to do with them.
In the right hands, you can go by Grand Funk.
So you think what's high when they fired Terry, that was a good move?
Yeah, he was robbing them blind, and in fact, he tried to confiscate all their equipment. I mean, he just really did some nasty, undersided things to those guys when he was robbing them left and right, and then tried to.
But he was also producing the records.
He was producing the records, and they did do one in between Terry Knight's production and bringing Todd on called Phoenix. Who produced that? They did. The band
They did. Okay.
That is an Odd Bird album. They recorded it in Nashville. And they brought in a fiddle player on one song, Doug Kershaw, the fiddle player.
Doug Kershaw.
Kershaw, pretty darn good.
Right.
There's the opening of the album is an instrumental called Fly to the Phoenix. Listen to that one, too. That's a toe tapper. And you even got fiddle on a Grand Funk song, and they're going to town, man. That album's got country elements to it, and it is really an odd bird in their catalog. But I like it.
Obviously you like it all.
Yeah, I mean, that's not too, folks. Maybe that's not too fair coming from me. Don't.
You're trying to
my word as gospel because I'm a diehard fan of Grand Funk. But I mean that one is a very different flavor as far as their catalog is concerned. I like it, but it is very different. Very different album.
Yeah, I don't think that got very good reviews either. It wasn't until We're American Band, I think that got like a 4 or 5 star review.
Yeah, reviewers were shocked at what Rundgren was able to do with a band that was just maligned to the 10th power beforehand. That Phoenix album does have one hit, Rock and Roll Soul, but it didn't do great guns, not like they had scored or sold before. They needed Todd, and they needed that change to happen at that moment because the hard rock, album rock world was changing, and they had to find a way going forward to present more of a commercial product out there and score some singles, still have their street cred, so to speak, but everything was moving in a different direction. And the 9-minute jam songs that were on previous albums, and that wasn't going to fly in mid-70s. So they brought
this kind of jams to some degree.
It does.
I think it's experiment, but I think this is the perfect blend of the pop sensibilities and a bit more adventurous. I don't want to say jammy. It's not really jammy, but it's more
experimental, proggy.
Yeah, well, it's not proggy, but it's hard to really put your finger on what this is.
Yeah, when you bring Todd into the mix and his sensibilities drawing from a variety of musical disciplines, you're going to get something that's a smorgasbord of this, that, and the other thing. And that's what you got in this album here.
So there you go. I'm going to give it a 4-star review, which I was shocked.
That is
But
astounding.
like I said, DC, I'm keeping an open mind.
And that's what we have to have here in these intervention shows. If you're going to be on here at this, I'm speaking to the rest of the hierarchy or the talent pool of the warehouse.
In the warehouse,
bring an open mind to this little exercise. We don't need pig-headedness.
Right.
Be malleable and flexible like Grant.
I mean, I've been pretty hard on Grand Funk, but maybe I shouldn't have been so hard, but I've only had the one record. So
yeah.
Every crappy band can have one decent record,
I mean, I never can figure out my favorite song from the bands I love. They tend to be in groups. Crappy groups or crappy artists, I can easily pick my favorite song. No problem there. It's not like I'm scratching my head thinking about my favorite Air Supply song. But the groups that I love, like, what's your favorite Beatles song? Oh my God, man, there's about 50 of them. And
that's why I don't do any Beatles shows, because the Beatles have been done to death, and there's nothing that the Beatles are my favorite.
Yeah, who's going to bring anything to the equation that hasn't gone ad nauseum over and over?
Yeah, I'll never talk. There's no reason to talk about it.
No, it's been done.
But no one's talking Grand Funk, so I'll talk Grand Funk.
This is why the warehouse is what the warehouse is. Sure. This is why people come here for this content.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, you're getting me converted, but we'll have to reconvene this.
Okay,
because,
we will touch base.
But I will stand. I will give it 4 out of 5 stars. So that'd be what, 7 out of 10, maybe?
Yeah. I'm happy with that. I feel like my work's been done.
But I do like it. I love what Todd has done with them.
Great.
So E Pluribus, what is it called?
It's called E Pluribus Funk.
It's the one that has the coin.
Yeah, the coin shape. Yeah.
All right.
You could track that, and like I said, listen to that first live album with the black and white cover and the red lettering, not the second live album. And then if on Survival, if you want to listen to a really soulful, different flavor Don Brewer vocal, listen to that song, I Can Feel Him in the Morning. And also that features a female vocal from
Cher?
Who is the woman that sung on the Pink Floyd?
Her.
Mary. She is on
I can't remember her last name, but she's on
Mary something or other. She is on I Can Feel Him in the Morning. And that you will be shocked. You will be shocked. This is a Grand Funk Railroad song.
Okay.
It starts out with a really weird cacophony of little children talking about their concept of God. And then it goes into the song with a Brewer lead vocal, and then the woman, the outstanding female vocalist, Mary, I can't think of your last name, adding soulful vocals in the background. Outstanding. Very different for Grand Funk.
Excellent. Well, DC, I guess we can wind this show down. I think we've discussed it.
I think we did a fantabulous
Now I have more homework to do.
But hopefully it'll be enjoyable homework.
Well, we'll see. It might not work.
If it gets too painful, just exit stage left like Stuyvesant.
Well, I'm going to be open-minded, and we'll see where we go, and then we'll reconvene. But I'm going to be open-minded about it.
This is all we ask for in these interventions. We don't ask people to.
But Shining On, I liked it.
Great. Well, that's awesome.
I would not get rid of it.
Good.
So there you go. So you did a good job so far.
Thank you, sir.
All right, everybody, please like, subscribe. You know the whole routine. You'll see more of DC on the channel. In fact, I'm going to give Steve Schnee a plug, because DC's always hanging out there on Tuesdays for the Ski Lodge show.
Absolutely.
And that is tonight. Oh no, he's not doing one tonight. But usually, I don't know. Or was it last week?
I think he is. Last week he was moving.
It was last week.
But this week, I think
when Ski Lodge and Schnee's not here to plug it.
He does it. It's
what time?
7. Is it 7 o'clock?
Is it like 9 o'clock Eastern?
9 o'clock Eastern. 9 o'clock Eastern.
So I'm probably going to hang out over there tonight. So
yeah, I'm gonna jump on when we're done here too. And
So anyway, DC, what a great discussion. I love to have you on the show. You will be back. We will talk more Grand Funk, and God knows what else we'll talk about, but there's going to be a slew of things to discuss.
Folks, stay tuned. It's always riveting and entertaining and informative content here on the Warehouse.
Yes, thank you. Yes. All right. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it.
All right, Grant. So long, folks.
Goodbye, everybody.